Welcome back to another episode of Bucks Latest presented by FanArch. As always, I'm your host, Dean Simon. And before we get into everything, please make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below, and also subscribe. We are now on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So if you'd want to join along on that journey, please hit that big red button down below and also turn on those post notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes. All right, now that the preamble is over, we can get to the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks are 2-0 in the postseason after a 117-111 home victory over the Detroit Pistons in the basically the home opener, the home opener of the preseason. That is, so 2-0 on the year. So the Bucks are still on course to go 82-0, win the championship. So thankfully we can rest easily at night knowing that that's more than likely going to be the outcome. But actually, an amazing night from several different avenues of this Bucks roster, specifically on the perimeter, but not in terms of guarding Detroit's Cade Cunningham, who I had hypothesized would have a pretty great game going into this one. I think in the previous episode before 26 6 and 6 in the first half alone in I think 18 minutes. He just was a complete he was barreling to the rim on the fast break and transition, just getting anything he wanted, especially going up against AJ Green, who we'll get to later, who had a fantastic night of his own. But on offense, Cade Cunningham just again got whatever he wanted. He was hitting pull up threes after pick and rolls, like after he was getting screens, he just felt completely comfortable with letting it go, and that was a big problem with him in the Pistons' first round series against the New York Knicks last year. That he would get a screen. And since everybody would go under the screens, they would give him ample opportunity to shoot, but he just hesitated a lot. But there was none of that in this game against the Bucks. Cade Cunningham was just letting it fly with no hesitation at all. Asar Thompson was also trying to go at AJ Green, and I feel like AJ had more resistance or fared better against Asar Thompson. He was just kind of looking for fouls, and something I'll tell you right now is that kids learn to shoot free throws. Just go out there, go in the gym, and practice your free throws because you're gonna need it. Asar Thompson needed it. He started out 2 for 7 from the free throw line in this game, ended 5 for 10. But someone he could actually learn from in this case is Chris Livingston, who finished with 9 points on the night for the Bucks. Was 9 for 10 from the free throw line, just kept finding his way to the charity stripe and knocking him down at a blistering rate. So yeah, there's that. Miles Turner didn't really have much of an impact on this game from a box score perspective. I think he finished with 4 points, and he did not grab a single rebound in this game, which and he finished with a -4 plus minus in his first half of action. So what I will say about that is we've known that Miles Turner, his rebounding has not been the greatest strength of his throughout his entire NBA career. To this point, despite his size, despite his athleticism, for whatever reason, he's just not as great at battling on the boards with other big men. But neither here nor there. There were other Bucks that came in to kind of pick up the slack in terms of the rebounding effort. And one of those guys was Cole Anthony, who brought down a team high 7 boards in this one. So we're gonna get into Cole as well, but I just thought that was probably the most interesting thing. If outside of AJ Green's game, if you look down the box score, seeing that Cole Anthony had 7 rebounds on the night, which isn't necessarily atypical because of his athleticism, and he's always in the paint fighting for everything down there, despite his stature. But yeah, it was a pretty great game all around. Ryan Rollins didn't have the most efficient night offensively, 2 for 8 on the night, with 7 points he finished with, and he fouled out. But a lot of those fouls, he picked up his fifth foul, I think, right in the beginning of the second half, and you kind of figured it was wraps from there. But yeah, Ryan Rollins had a pretty solid game defensively, nothing too crazy. KPJ was awesome, 4 for 4 from the field, 10 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, only 2 turnovers on the night. But something that I'll get into now. I guess we'll move over into AJ Green's spectacular night. And they were saying on the broadcast that there's definitely games where these guys wish these stats counted for the regular season, and this definitely was one that AJ Green was hoping could maybe the scorekeepers will just push it over towards opening night and just count it for that game. 22 points, 5 of 5 from deep, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists to go along with it, finished with a +8 in the plus minus department. AJ Green, outside of the incredible 3-point shooting, and one of those threes was a heinous pull up three in transition past the hash mark over Cade Cunningham. outside of the putting the ball in the basket from all areas of the floor on the three-point line, AJ Green kind of took over a little bit of the responsibility as a main distributor for this Bucks team, at least when like with the starting lineup or how the starting lineup is concerned. Because Kevin Porter Jr., of course, man the point guard position and was the kind of main focal point of the decision making, but AJ Green did take over a few plays, and it seemed as though he was kind of the main distributor in certain plays. Again, finished with 3 assists. That was one more than KPJ did. And he was making some high level reads, like skipping it to the corner, like, and there was actually a play where it was kind of role reversal where AJ Green had it, I think either at the top of the key or on the right wing, and he skipped it over to the left corner to KPJ for a catch and shoot three as he was uh, fading kind of out of bounds towards the baseline. He arguably got fouled on that play, but it was just so interesting to see again just the reversal of the roles and AJ Green being that playmaker in the instance and KPJ the beneficiary as a catch and shoot three-point shooter, something you don't necessarily see all the time. And it kind of, I felt very positively about that play going forward, and that's something that I'll definitely keep in the back of my mind as the preseason keeps going and as we are leading up towards the regular season. But what a game, what a night for AJ Green. Of course, most of his threes came in the catch and shoot variety, as they typically do. He also had a play where he pump faked, I think it was Duncan Robinson, out of the way, took one dribble, put up a three, and he got fouled from behind. And then that led him to get 3 free throws. So he was very productive in all aspects of the floor. He was down there in the paint battling for rebounds as well, kind of helping out Miles and helping out Bobby Portis in that instance. So just an unbelievable all around night for AJ Green. And if we're going to talk about Cole Anthony for a second, we need to talk about him as being, of course, we figured that he was going to be the lead scoring guard off the bench for the Milwaukee Bucks, but being the lead playmaker, at least in the capacity that he was during this game against the Pistons, it was really unbelievable to watch. He looked like completely at home and he was just in a perfect position to get his guys in the right spots and he was driving to the rim with reckless abandon, and he was using, again, like how I wanted KPJ to, he was using that threat of finishing at the rim to get his guys open around the three-point line, classic drive and kick kind of offense. And though he did not finish with the most efficient night from the field, 3 of 8, 1 for 3 from three, knocked down both of his free throws, he was doing everything else. He was scoring sporadically here and there, mostly in transition when he would get kind of a breakaway opportunity, and he would finish a layup on the break, or if he was left open for a little space of time that he would just let go for a three. I think he hit a three on the left wing of that variety. But he finished on the night with 9 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists in, I think, oh my good, how many minutes did Cole Anthony play? He was just completely off the charts in his 18 minutes and 17 seconds of time. I thought he was fantastic, and this is exactly what I want to see going forward from Cole Anthony. Him just as that kind of dual threat of, I'm either going to get to the rim and use my underrated athleticism to finish a tough contested layup, or I might step back into the mid range, or I might pump fake that mid range shot, kick it to the corner to AJ Green, or find Bobby on the roll, or find Miles Turner on the roll. He was successful in so many different areas of this offense. And I really want to see that continue for Cole Anthony. So the one thing, the major thing that I'll take away from this game is that when I talk about needing the team to remain consistent, I'm mostly talking about from an effort standpoint and from a conditioning standpoint, because the Bucks started off this game fantastic. I think they were 7 for 10 from three in the first quarter, but in that area, I'll say that remaining consistent is just staying with it with knocking down threes, because the Bucks barely penetrated the paint in the first quarter, and they were, in my opinion, kind of lucky to get the quality of three-point looks that they were able to without necessarily getting all the way to the restricted area and creating things out on the three-point line based off of that. It was mostly that they would throw it down to Bobby Portis or Miles Turner, who were backing guys down maybe 6 or 8 feet away from the basket, like not necessarily right in front of the rim. And then something would somehow develop off of that where they would kick the ball out to the 3-point line, make another swing pass, and kind of get the defense off balance. And then ultimately it would end in a pretty clean 3-point look. But I think the Bucks need to remain more consistent in terms of their philosophy that they went into this preseason with, where they're going to drive and kick. They're attacking the rim, and then they're letting their 3 point offense or their catch and shoot guys kind of get clean looks out of that. So I feel like the Bucks didn't attack the basket enough in this game, but ultimately it didn't really matter. And even though you know what? Actually, now I'll get into this with my other point of remaining consistent. From an effort and conditioning standpoint, it was a pretty tight game in the first quarter. I think it ended tied, or a 2 point game at the end of the first quarter. But we saw towards the latter stages of the second quarter that it seemed like the Bucks were just completely out of it. That they didn't really want to stick with their game plan going in of we're going to run up and down, we're going to terrify teams in transition, and this is how we're going to roll. It seemed as though it caught up to them a little bit towards the end of the first half, where there was a play where the Bucks, I think it was off a made free throw or just off a made basket in general, where they just didn't get back on defense, and Ron Holland got a wide open layup or dunk off the backs of the Bucks, just not getting back remotely. He was the only guy back. So that kind of effort, that was surely something that Doc Rivers does not want to see ever again. Just that kind of situation. Giving up easy baskets off of your own made baskets is always something that a head coach is going to be completely frustrated with. But just in that instance, it seemed like nobody was moving, nobody was willing to even contest him on the other side of the court, and that's something that they're going to have to work on. And it seemed as though they were kind of letting the game slip away because of their inattentiveness on defense. And maybe this is because they were pushing the ball so much in transition in that first half. They were getting a little bit tired, and they were more likely to give up really easy looks to the Pistons, both in transition and in the half court. It seemed as though, and this is how you can really tell that one team is a little bit more gassed than the other, is when being the Bucks, when the Bucks are working so hard on each possession to get a clean look, more or less, like they're making multiple uh swing passes, they're penetrating, they're kicking it out, they're really working to get the defense off balance, and then ultimately it ends in a good shot. Meanwhile, the Pistons come back down the other end of the floor. Cade Cunningham brings it up, or whoever brings it up, and Ron Holland just makes one, swing or skip pass to the right wing, and Chaz Lanier gets a wide open three. Like there's nobody even in the area code off of one pass. They didn't need to break the defense down. They didn't need to do anything special. It was just everything was just one pass away whenever they started to get into their offensive sets. So that's definitely something that the Bucks are going to have to keep going with, and just remain consistent in staying on their toes on defense, and not letting their transition offense and their volume of transition attempts get to them on the defensive side. They still need to keep that energy up, and stay focused on that end, and not let these kinds of slip ups like this happen in the future, where you're just letting Ron Holland get a wide open dunk after a made basket. That kind of stuff is just a complete no, and that shouldn't happen again, or at least nearly as much going forward. And my last point here, if you were to tell me that Jonathan Kuminga got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and that's who came in for the final 6.5 minutes of this game instead of Thanasis Antetokounmpo, I would have 100% believed you, because Thanasis literally, like, not even just the accessory or apparel wise stuff, Thanasis looked like Jonathan Kuminga out there, and he was moving fantastic. I really didn't expect this, at least coming off the injury, and coming in for kind of like his first, like, real stint of, like, he's playing a half a quarter of really meaningful, high paced basketball, where it was a very close game, and these guys that are fighting for contracts or fighting for roster spots are really giving it their all. Thanasis looked fantastic. Of course, his screen setting and just his ability to get right out of it, and set the screen and then get moving towards the basket. I feel like that's one of the biggest hurdles for big guys in the NBA to get over, at least for guys right when they enter the league, is just getting out of their screening actions that quickly and beginning their roll to the rim. Thanasis was like a gazelle in that instance of setting screens and immediately rolling to the basket, and he caught a lob and finished. That was just an absolutely electric moment. And then, of course, the cross between the legs to the right hand, the little 1-2 step into the lane, and then the reverse finish on the right side of the basket. Like, where did that come from, Thanasis? But no, he looked fantastic. His defensive intensity was off the charts. Just his motor, everything we know about him to this point was still there and showed up and in droves. And he passed that kind of test in flying colors, coming in for the final, again, half of the fourth quarter, when it was like a 1 or 2 point game when he came in. Then of course the Bucks were able to blow it open on the back of Thanasis and of Chris Livingston getting to the free throw line 10 times. That was just awesome. And I liked how Pete Nance too, coming off of a great game in his first preseason game. His three ball wasn't going down, but he was still able to impact the game in different ways. Just again, a great screen setter. He was passing pretty effectively, and he did get to the basket and finish a pretty tough contested layup. So when the three wasn't going down, he was looking more for an inside attack. But honestly, Pete Nance is kind of a big example I can use, that or a guy that I can use, that he did something that the rest of the Bucks team can follow, is that when the three wasn't going down, like they're just going to have to put their heads down and get to the rim, because that's what we saw in the second quarter. It was a lack of defense and the well kind of ran dry from three. And that's what led the Pistons to take a 72-60 halftime lead. Of course, the Bucks came back and ended up winning, and their three ball was still going down at a 50% read. I think they hit 18 of 36 from the 3-point line in this contest. Yes, they did. So I guess in that instance, maybe it doesn't matter as much as I'm saying. But in that second quarter specifically, I felt like when the three ball wasn't going down for those 12 minutes, for that one frame, they needed to really attack the rim more consistently. And I feel like that's something that the rest of this Bucks team can follow, especially going into their next game. Start out from the beginning working inside out. I feel like to start this game, they started outside in, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're hitting 7 of your first 10 threes in the first quarter. But I feel like ideally, that's, or, less than ideally, like you would want this to happen, but it's more than likely not going to happen that the Bucks are going to start out shooting 7 of 10 from 3 to start each game. So, going forward, I would like to see the Bucks work more inside out and develop make themselves threats at the basket and then just kick out for easy drive and kick opportunities. That's what I'm looking forward to in the very near future. But anyways, that'll be it for me today. Thank you very much for tuning into another episode of Bucks Latest presented by FanArch. Again, I've been Dean Simon, and before you leave, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe. We are still trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, and turn on those post notifications so you don't miss out on future Bucks updates. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Bucks.